The lecture hall on Stellar Lyceum looked like a calm shell of light. Tall windows curved over soft hills and a silver lake. Walls were cushioned, not for danger, but for comfort. Quiet drones poured tea into warm cups. Students from many worlds spoke in kind voices and used slow hand signs to show respect. In this place, stress felt like a lesson from very long ago. On the first morning of the term, a new student entered the hall. He wore a plain jacket, sturdy boots, and a simple pack. His name was Armin Hale. He came from Earth, a world many called a Deathworld. He did not look dangerous. He looked steady. He held a small notebook filled with clean lines, tiny maps, and sketches of tools. When he moved with care as if he did not wish to wake the room. The class watched him. Some had never seen a human before. They had watched shows about Earth storms and hard seasons. They had seen clips of people running in rain, stacking sandbags and repairing roofs. These clips looked dramatic when shown with music and bright text. The students wondered if Armin would speak like those shows. They expected a loud story. They expected a big boast. Professor Celix arrived with a gentle chime. Celix was tall and calm with a voice like soft glass. "Welcome," the professor said, "to life skills. This class teaches simple methods that help us in everyday moments. We learn to plan, to share, and to notice change before change grows." Celix's eyes moved around the room, then rested on Armand for a second. Not a long look, only a note. "As always," Celix went on, "we begin with short presentations. Each student will share one skill they use at home. It can be small. It must be clear. Speak slowly. Show steps." Students presented in turns. Yura, a gel-based empath, spoke about caretaking gardens that changed color to show thirst. Castron, a light-boned glider, explained how to fold wing sleeves so they could glide short distances between terraces. Para, a soft-shell scholar, showed a tool for measuring how loud a room felt to their ears, and how to make a quiet space by moving cushions. The class nodded and sipped tea. The drones hummed. The sun shifted across the silver lake. Then it was Armand's turn. He stood without haste. He did not use the stage spotlight. He used the room as it was. He placed his notebook on the desk and clicked a pen. No dramatic title appeared on the screen. He drew a small map by hand. A street, 3 houses, a high tree, and little dots. "My home does storm drills," he said in a clear, even tone. "Every season we do the same steps. It is not scary. It is normal. We do it because help can take time to arrive, and we want to help each other until it comes." He looked at the class. They were listening. "Step 1, Armin said. "We check the sky and the alerts. If there is a storm watch, we prepare. We make sure the kit is ready. The kit has water, light, tape, cloth, a charger, a small radio, and a list of neighbors. The list is paper, not just a phone. If power goes away, paper still works." He drew a small box next to the houses. He labeled it kit. "Step 2, we set a meeting point. If anyone is out, they know where to come. We choose a safe place near the big tree, because it is a clear landmark on our street. We also pick a backup point in case the first is not safe. We tell children the 2 points like a song." He drew 2 circles. He dotted a line between them. "Step 3, we check on each other," he said. "We call our neighbors and say, 'Do you have what you need?' We ask about medicine, pets, and devices that need power. If someone needs to move to a safer room, we help now, not later." He looked at his notes. He did not hurry. "Step 4, we practice calm breathing. It sounds small, but it is power. We count. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. We keep voice tone low and even. We do not spread worry. We spread steps. We remind each other. We have a plan. We are together." The class was very quiet. The soft-shell student Para adjusted their recorder and leaned forward. Yura's gel surface showed a faint blue of interest. Castron tilted their head like a curious bird. Professor Celix stood with hands clasped, eyes bright. Armin went on. "If the storm comes, we put away loose items, we tape a few signs, we set lamps low, and we move to the safe room. After it passes, we check in again. We clear small debris. We share power from battery packs. We repair what we can. If someone is alone, we go and sit. We do not leave anyone feeling left behind." He stopped drawing. He looked around the hall. "This is not a heroic story," he said with a gentle smile. "It is homework. We do it because we want the next day to be a normal day, not a hard day." For a moment, the room held its breath. Many students had believed Deathworld meant constant danger and wild actions. But Armin did not describe wild actions. He described small actions done on time. He did not raise his voice. He did not make big claims. He made a list and showed how lists protect people. A hand rose in the back row. It was Tassim, a student from a mild rain world. "Do you do this every week?" Tassim asked. "Not every week," Armin said. "Every season we review. When a watch appears, we check again. Practice takes little time when you do it often." Another hand rose. Castron asked, "Do you feel fear?" "Sometimes," Armin said, honest and simple. "But practice gives the fear a chair to sit on. It has a place. It does not run the house." A small, warm laugh moved through the hall. Even the drones seemed to pause in the air. Professor Seelig stepped forward. "Thank you, Armin," Seelig said. "Your method is simple and strong. It shows care for others. It shows attention to time." The professor turned to the class. Notice his order. He began with information, then meeting points, then neighbor checks, then calm breathing, then actions. Many worlds can use this structure for many problems. The screen behind Seelig's changed to the weekly agenda. A soft tone played. Next, the professor announced, "We will discuss Field Week." A gentle wave of excitement moved through the room. Field Week was a highlight of the term. It was a trip to Lunara, a quiet planet with mild plains and pale trees. Students would practice mapping, low-risk navigation, and group pacing on a simple trail. The academy believed in safe practice in safe places. "The Field Week program," Seelig said, "asks each class to name a student lead for the survival portion. The lead does not command. The lead keeps time, sets check-ins, and makes sure no one is left behind. It is a service role." Eyes turned to Armin. He felt the shift and stood again. "If the class wishes," he said, "I can serve. But I prefer we train before we travel. Short, simple sessions, 10 minutes a day. We will learn a buddy triangle. Each person watches 2 others and knows 2 are watching them. We will learn a simple mirror signal. We will choose a daily meeting point and a backup point. We will write it down. If we do this, I will serve." Yura's jowl rippled with approval. Para lifted a hand and said, "I like the triangle." Castron nodded, wings rustling softly. Tessim clapped, then stopped, then clapped again when others joined. The vote was quick. Armin became the lead for the survival portion. He bowed his head, not in pride but in agreement. During the midday break, students formed a circle around Armin. He drew more small maps on thin paper pads and showed them how to fold the edges so the map stayed dry in a light mist. He taught the 4-count breath. He spoke about water, sip, don't gulp. Put a schedule on the bottle. He spoke about pace. Walk at the speed of the slowest. The slowest sets the music. Para asked, "Why do humans practice so much?" Armin thought for a moment. "Because help is kind," he said, "but help takes time to arrive. Practice is how we become each other's first help." That answer sat warm in the air. It felt like a lamp in a window. The week moved in an easy rhythm. 10 minutes of practice at the start of each day. 10 minutes of practice at the end. They did not try to do everything. They chose a few small habits and made them quiet and strong. When the day of departure came, the class walked to the shuttle bay with small packs in a bright mood. The shuttle smelled like clean metal and citrus. Seats faced wide windows. The lake and hills fell away beneath them. The planet turned to cloud, marble, and blue. Professor Seelig stood near the front and reviewed the plan. "Lunara's weather is usually gentle," Seelig said. "Today is the same. We expect clear trails, mild breeze, and warm shade. The park drones will hover nearby and the safety AI will monitor our route." A soft chime sounded from the console as the shuttle aligned with Lunara's orbit. A small indicator blinked on the safety panel. Atmospheric anomaly detected, the AI wrote in calm text. Category faint. The AI offered a thin ribbon of numbers, a small change in dust high above the plane drifting down from a plateau. Professor Seelig read the notice and nodded. "Non-critical," Seelig said. "We will stay aware." Armin looked at the same ribbon of numbers. He did not frown. He took out his notebook and drew a tiny dashed line across a small map of Lunara's plane. He circled a patch near the trail and wrote a single line. "If color shifts, use mirror signal." Then he closed the book and smiled at Yura, who was practicing the 4-count breath. The shuttle touched down with a gentle sigh. The door opened to a pale sky and soft grass. Students stepped onto Lunara with careful joy. The air felt like cool tea. The trees shone like clean bones in the light. Armin stood at the foot of the ramp. He counted heads. He checked the time. He pointed to a tall tree with a split branch and said, "This is our meeting point for today. Backup point is the long rock by the stream. Write it down. Buddy triangles now." They wrote. They paired. They smiled, high above. Morning on Lunara felt like a soft song. The sky wore a pale blue that looked almost white, and the light had a calm taste like cool water. The class gathered near the tall tree with the split branch, their packs neat and light. Drones hovered at a polite distance, recording data and keeping an eye on trail markers. Professor Celix checked the roster and gave a nod to Armin. The signal was simple: lead the rhythm. Armin held up his notebook. "We start with pace," he said. "The slowest sets the music. We walk at a breath we can talk through." He tapped his wrist timer. 15-minute check-ins. Buddy triangles stay tight. If you need water, say it. Sips, not gulps. Every sip is on a schedule. They moved along a gentle path that wound through pale trees. The soil was springy and light, a little like fresh bread. The wind tasted clean. The students relaxed into the simple pattern of steps and breaths. Even the drones seemed to hum in time. At the first check-in, Armin lifted his hand and the group slowed. He counted heads, read off buddy triangles, and asked the same calm questions. Any lightness in the head? Any tightness in breath? Any shoes rubbing? Adjust now so it does not grow later. He smiled, and the group smiled back, surprised at how good it felt to be asked these small, exact things. After the check, Armin taught a small skill. "This is a signal mirror," he said, holding a palm-sized disc with a small sight hole. "It reflects light to say, 'I am here.' Our pattern is 3 quick flashes, pause, then 3 again. If we need to gather, we answer with the same pattern from the meeting point. Practice." He showed them how to sight through the hole and aim the light at a tree trunk. Little spots of brightness danced on bark. Yura laughed softly, their gel surface rippling in lines. "It is like a tiny star," they said. "Exactly," Armin replied. "Stars are useful because they are steady." "Be steady," they walked on. The path passed a series of low stones that looked like folded paper. Castron glided a short stretch down a gentle slope and landed with a light tap. "Wing sleeves work well here," they said, pleased. Para adjusted a cap to keep the sun gentle on their soft shell and recorded notes about tree spacing and soil feel. The second check-in arrived and passed in the same simple way. Count heads, sip water, adjust shoes, breathe in 4s. The group felt a growing confidence that was not loud but strong, like a beam under a floor. Professor Celix watched with a thoughtful face. The professor had taught many classes but rarely saw a group become so calm so soon. As they moved toward a shallow ridge, the wind shifted. It was not strong. It was a slow change, like a door opening in another room. High above, the thin veil of dust turned slightly and began to drift toward the plane. The drones adjusted their sensors and sent a small note to the safety AI. Atmospheric veil, mild. Visibility shift possible. The text was calm and light, but it still meant pay attention. Armin felt the change on his cheeks before anyone spoke of it. He stopped at the next check-in and raised a hand. 2 quick steps, he said. First, we take shade breaks more often. Second, we mark our meeting point more clearly. From his pack, he pulled small reflective tabs and a roll of bright tape. He placed 2 tabs on the split branch tree and a small strip on the long rock by the stream. When the light hit them, they gave back a small clear shine. "Why now?" Tassim asked, curious. "Because a mild dust veil can change colors," Armin said. "What looks pale blue can look gray. What looks white can look the same as the path. When colors flatten, shapes become the better guide. Reflective markers create bright dots that stand apart from the wash." Professor Celix nodded. "Good practice," Celix said. "Even if we never need it." The group continued and the world slowly softened. The sky kept its calm, but the far hills blurred at the edges as if someone breathed on glass. The change was gentle, but it made distances harder to read. Some students did not notice at first. Others glanced around with new respect for Armin's habit of marking points. After the third check-in, the class split into small study teams for a planned, short exercise. Team A would map tree spacing within 100 steps. Team B would sketch the stream's curves and measure water speed with leaf floats. Team C would practice mirror signals from 2 small rises, well within sight lines in the 15-minute schedule. Armin repeated the rules: stay in buddy triangles, stay within the close zone, return on time, and assigned a student to watch the clock in each team. If you feel even a little unsure, he said, you head back early. Early is never wrong. The team set off with cheerful purpose. Armin stayed near the meeting point with Signal Group, Yura, Para, and a quiet first year named Jano, and set the mirror pattern every few minutes. 3 flashes, pause, 3 flashes. The light winked back from a rise to the east. Team C was in place and playful about it. They flashed a little extra, then remembered the rule and stopped. Armin held up a hand and smiled. Good, keep it simple. Time passed in small, safe pieces, a sip, a note, a breath. Then quietly the dust veil slid a little lower, not thick, just a soft sheet. It did not sting the eyes. It only made the colors agree with each other too much. The grass, the path, the bark. Everything became cousins in the same family of light. Yura raised a hand.
Shapes feel better than colors now, they said. Yes, Armin agreed.
We will follow shapes and markers. He placed another reflective tab on a waist-high bush. The tiny star of light winked with the patience of a distant lighthouse. On the next mirror cycle, a return flash came from the wrong direction. It was faint, not more than a blink, and it came from slightly south of the expected rise, closer to a shallow fold in the plain that maps marked as uneven ground. Armin did not frown. He spoke in the same voice he used for the first check-in. That was off angle, he said gently. We will verify. He had Signal Group repeat the pattern, steady and clear. 3 flashes, pause, 3 flashes. He watched the edges of the landscape with soft eyes, looking for motion and shape, not hue. Another return blink came, again south, again faint. Para adjusted their cap. Could Team C have moved? They asked. They could, Armin said. But they would log it on the timer and send a note by wristcom. We did not receive a note. He looked at Jano. What time is Team C due? Jano checked. 4 minutes, they said. Good, Armin replied. We wait the 4. We breathe. We do not run to a guess, they breathed. The dust veil sighed and thinned, then thickened again like a slow tide. 4 minutes passed, no note. No steady flash from the east rise. Only a third, very faint blink from the south fold. Professor Salix came to Armin's side. The professor's voice was calm but focused. Thoughts? 2 possibilities, Armin said. 1, Team C shifted station and did not log it due to signal lag. 2, the dust veil flattened a reflection from something else south and we are seeing a false positive. What do we do? Salix asked, giving the lead back to him, as agreed. Armin opened his notebook and drew 3 short lines. We start with contained signaling, he said. Signal Group stays here and maintains the mirror rhythm, so anyone returning knows where we are. I will take Search Group on a very short advance south, not far, with tether cord so we hold line of sight. We mark our path with chimes. Chimes? Tassim asked, joining them with Team B just returned. Their leaf floats had been a fun test. Armin lifted a small ring of soft metal bells from his pack. They were no louder than a spoon on a cup. Tie them low, he explained. They give us a quiet thread. We do not chase sound. We listen for the thread we made. Celix listened, then nodded once. Approved, the professor said. Keep it small. Armand looked around the group. Volunteers for Search Group, he said. 2 pairs. And 1 note, no one is brave alone. Brave is a team sport. Castron stepped forward, light on their feet. I can glide a little if the slope helps, they offered. Yura volunteered with a firm ripple of blue. Para, though careful by nature, raised a hand and said, I know the terrain notes. I can read the folds. Jano stayed with Signal Group, steady and quiet, to keep the mirror rhythm clean. Armin tied tether cords to each pair, looped through his own belt. He placed chimes on low branches as they moved south in slow counted steps. Every 10 paces he said the same words. Breathe. Look for edges. Check your buddy triangle. Listen for our chimes. The dust veil made the fold in the plane look closer than it was. That was the trick of flattened color. It played with distance. Armand set a marker at the halfway bush and another at a small rock shaped like a sleeping animal. When he turned, he could see the meeting point tree shining with its reflective tabs. Good. The thread held. They reached the top of the shallow fold and crouched, peering down. It was not deep, not sharp. It was a bowl pressed into the plain, with soft sides and a darker floor. At the bowl's rim, a flat stone stood like a little table. On the stone lay a small mirror, Team C's spare, catching stray light in the veil and blinking when the wind moved it. A false positive. Para breathed. The wind made the blink. Good to confirm, Armin said. He did not call it a mistake. He called it information. We correct the story. He reached for the spare mirror to stop the false blink and paused. The stone surface showed scuffs, a little mess of marks that did not match wind. He traced one with a finger. It looked like someone had placed a pack here and turned it. Not wrong, not bad, just facts. Team C stood here, he said softly. So where did they go? At that exact moment, the mirror at the meet. The light on Lunara grew soft and even, like cloth spread over a lamp. Colors pulled closer to each other. The path, the grass, and the pale trunks all shared the same quiet tone. It was beautiful, but it asked for care. At the meeting tree, signal group kept the mirror rhythm steady. 3 flashes, pause, 3 flashes, like a heartbeat the whole class could follow. Professor Selig stood near the tree, checking the roster and the time, trusting Armin to guide the next steps. Armin raised his hand to the search group. Castrin, Yura, and Para. Each wore a light tether cord linked to Armin's belt. He spoke in that same calm voice they had learned to trust. We sweep east along the ridge, he said. Short range. We mark with chimes. We keep line of sight. We do not hurry. We let the plan do the work. They moved in measured steps. Every 8 to 10 paces, Armand tied a soft bell to a low branch. The bell note was gentle, like a spoon touching a cup. Enough to be heard, never enough to startle any living thing. Chime, step, breathe, Armand said, and they repeated after him in even tones. Chime, step, breathe. The ridge curved like a smile, and the dust veil made distance hard to judge. Castrin adjusted their wing sleeves and tested a small glide from ridge to ridge, staying on the tether line so no one drifted. Yura watched the edges of shapes, not color, just as Armand taught. Para checked the timer every few minutes. When the timer hummed for the 15-minute mark, Armin raised a hand. Check in, he said. Head clear? Breath easy? Water sip? Each took a small drink. Mirrors, he asked. Yura flashed 3, pause 3. From the meeting tree, signal group answered, steady and bright. The little stars of light stitched the space between them, thread across cloth. They walked on. Then they found signs. Near a navel-high bush, the soil showed small marks, 2 sets of shallow prints and a soft skid that looked like someone turned sideways. Fresh, not old. Para crouched, careful with their shell, and traced a line with a finger. Team C, they said softly. They came this way and moved down. Para glanced to the right, where the ridge sloped into a shallow ravine. Too small to be danger by itself, but plenty to hide shapes in this kind of light. Armin tied a bell on the bush and set a reflective tab on a low rock. He looked at the ravine and then at his team. We adjust the plan, he said. Short descent. Tether length stays short. We add a countdown every 10 steps. We keep the chimes behind us so we can return by sound if the shapes confuse us. Castrin tested the line again. Ready? Yura breathed in 4 counts, out in 4. Ready. Para set the timer for tighter intervals. Ready. They stepped down into the ravine. The world felt close and padded. The dust veil made the sides look the same shade, but the edges still told the truth. Lines of rock, curve of soil, outline of a fallen branch. Armand set a bell, then another, and spoke in short, simple phrases. Eyes on edges. Sip if dry, call if unsure. At the next bend in the ravine, a small sound reached them. Not alarm, not pain, just a careful voice trying to be heard. Hello, it said. Signal? Yura's gel surface brightened with relief. We hear you, Yura called back, calm and even. Armin lifted a hand. No one rushed. The plan was the speed. They rounded the curve and saw Team C, 2 students, Miri and Saul, standing together on a low shelf, safe but uncertain. Their posture said everything. No injury, just disorientation. The dust veil had bent the light, so the path back looked like many similar options. Their wrist comms showed flickers of signal. Not enough for steady messages, enough for a ping now and then. Armin smiled and lifted his palm. We see you, he said, voice warm and simple. Good job staying together. Good job not moving fast. We will come to you in slow steps. Miri let out a small laugh that sounded like air finding a window. We tried to use the mirror, she said, but the wind... The stone. Her voice trailed off, but her shoulders lowered a little. Sol gave a small nod as if to say, we kept the rules, but we lost the lines. Armin checked his team with a glance. Castrin on the tether, Yura steady, Para with timer in hand. He placed 2 more reflective tabs on the ravine side, then approached Miri and Sol with open hands. "Water sip," he said. "Shade hood for a moment." We breathed together. They did the 4-count breath. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. In the quiet of that simple habit, the dust veil felt less important. The mind had a chair to sit on again. "Tell me your steps," Armin said to Miri and Sul. They explained. They had moved to a rise, sent mirror flashes to the meeting point, then tried to map stream curves from a new angle. A slight breeze turned a spare mirror on a stone. The wind's small flickers looked like a signal from another direction. They shifted by a few dozen paces to verify, then color flattening made the return look unfamiliar. No panic, just a pause. They stayed in their buddy pair and waited for the next check-in window. "Good practice," Armin said. He meant it. "Nothing wrong here. We correct the story and walk it back." He placed a chime near their shelf, then tied their tether ends to his line so all 5 were linked. "We will let the chimes lead us to the last bell. Para, call the steps." Para's voice was clear. 10 steps, they said. "Count." The group counted together. "Stop, scan edges." They paused, looked left and right. "Sip if needed," Para said. They sipped. Next 10. The rhythm turned the space into a hallway with lights every few paces. At the first chime, Yura smiled. "Homeward thread," they said. At the reflective tab on the low rock, Castron tapped the tether line with approval. They moved around the bend, rose out of the ravine by the same gentle slope, and reached the navel-high bush with the bell. Above them, the ridgeline looked like the calm back of a sleeping animal. Beyond that, faint but sure, came the mirror heartbeat from the meeting tree. 3, pause, 3. At the top of the ridge, the world opened again. The dust veil still floated, but now it felt like weather, not a wall. The meeting tree shone with its reflective tabs. Signal Group and Professor Celix came into view. Jano raised the mirror and sent the pattern. The response flashed from Yura's mirror. Stars spoke to stars. When the 2 groups met, no one rushed to questions. They did a simple status check. Water, breath, feet, shoulders. Then Armin gave a compact summary to Celix. Located Miri and Sol on a shelf in the East Ravine. No injury. Disorientation due to color flattening and wind blink from spare mirror. Followed chimes back to ridge. Returning to plan. Professor Celix listened with a calm face and a bright eye. "Thank you," Celix said, looking at the whole class. "This is how we learn, by practicing kindness on time." They took a longer shade break by the meeting tree. Students sat in a wide half-circle, sip bottles on their knees. Armand took out his notebook and in large, clear letters wrote a short list on a page the class could see. Find edges, not colors. Mirror pattern steady, buddy triangles tight. Chimes marked the thread. Breathe, count, sip. He did not lecture. He let the list sit like stones in a shallow stream, easy to step on one by one. Then he said, "Earth taught me this. Strong is what we do for each other before the hard moment arrives. Practice is our quiet strength." A soft murmur moved through the circle, not loud, not dramatic. It was agreement made of many small nods. Even the drones, hovering at a respectful height, seemed to steady their hum as if to listen. When the break ended, they completed the day's trail at a gentle pace. The dust veil lightened and lifted, the way a curtain rises at the end of a show. Colors returned to their usual places. The stream shone like a thin ribbon. The long rock by the water kept its promise as a backup point, though they did not need it. At the shuttle, Armin counted heads twice for good measure and smiled when the second count matched the first. Back at Stellar Lyceum, the lecture hall welcomed them with warm cups and soft seats. Yet the room did not feel exactly the same. Something in the class had changed shape. It was not fear and it was not pride. It was readiness. The kind with breathing in it. Professor Celix stood at the front and lifted a hand. "Before we close," Celix said, "we will record what we learned in clear language." On the main screen, the professor typed a title, "Everyday Resilience, a Simple Guide." Under it, Celix wrote bullet points from Armin's methods and the class's experience. No big words, no heavy theory, just steps, check-ins, meeting points, buddy triangles, signal mirrors, tether cords, reflective tabs, soft chimes, 4-count breath, sip schedule. Celix turned to the class. "We will make this a course next term," the professor said. "Short sessions, shared teaching, credit for service and care." The room warmed with quiet joy. It felt like planting a garden that would help students on many worlds. Yura raised a hand, their gel surface clear and steady. May we keep the mirror kits? They asked. Yes, Celix replied at once. They are yours. Tools belong with the hands that will use them, Castrin added with a small smile. And the chimes, they sounded like a path. Music is a good teacher, Armin said. It gives time a shape. Later, when the hall grew quiet and the drones rested, Armin sat with his notebook and looked out at the silver lake. The sun leaned low. He drew the day in small pictures. The split-branch tree, the sleeping animal rock, the bell on the bush, the mirror flashes like tiny stars. He wrote one more line under the list, we are strong because we practice together. He closed the notebook and stood. On the way out, he passed a table where new students were signing up for next term's classes. One of the listings, fresh on the D,